Welcome back, boys and girls. It's week 5 of the college football season, and also week 5 of the Carla and Crappy show, and also week 2 of the Jeopardy tour of guest hosts of the Carla and Crappy show. And also, I think we're far enough into the season where we're going to start finding out kind of who is for real. And that's a theme that's going to come up a lot as I talk with Gabby Biltz, who is our guest host today. Gabby is a recent graduate of Notre Dame. Gabby was my intern at the Post-Gazette a couple years ago. She did not stray far. She's still a resident of the South Bend metropolitan area. What's the town that you live in? I can't remember. It's
just this tiny little town called Chicago.
Chicago, right? That's it.
If you're familiar with it at all, yeah.
It rings a bell. It sort of rings a bell. Gabby, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah,
okay.
I'm coming to you live from my, shoebox apartment in Lincoln Park, Chicago. Excited to talk some college football.
Sweet. The first thing we need to find out, and I can't blame Gabby for this much. We all have, remember, we're college students where affordability and sort of volume is what we're looking for in beer. I'm trying to steer Gabby away from that now that she's a professional. So the first thing we need to find out is what is in Gabby's glass, because I told her there would be consequences if she stuck to like her normal, her normal choices. I
was told I'd be in a lot of trouble if I drank a Bud Light tonight. So I'm not drinking a Bud Light.
A lot of trouble. But you seriously, you live in Lincoln Park. There are like a dozen breweries that you can walk to. Yeah. I'm just looking at the map. So what do you got?
So I went, I feel like iconic Chicago brewery. I did Revolution.
Okay.
And I went with their Oktoberfest. So nice choice. I have a couple more in the fridge too. I picked out some different Oktoberfest. They have this beer or this beverage store here called Binny's Beverage Depot. I think it's just a Chicago thing, but I don't know if it's maybe other places in the Midwest. But they're just huge liquor stores.
Yes.
But they have this wall of like beers and seltzers and things, and you can build your own 6-pack.
Okay.
So like at a time of year like this, I'm going to say at a time of year like this, when you have all the Oktoberfest beers, and then like another month from now, and they bring out all the Christmas ales, it's just a really great way to get to try lots of different ones. So I am branching out. Anytime I go to a bar, though, I usually just get a Bud Light. I'll be honest. I know.
No, but I mean, you get points for you get points for trying. And look for local stuff. It's that you've got a ton of options in Chicago, and Revolution's a good one.
What is that?
So, all right, I'm pleased with that. I think you've successful passed that test. The next thing is we're actually going to talk about football. We're obviously going to pay a lot of attention to Notre Dame's game from last weekend, but just real quick, I wanted to touch on Ohio State and Akron. Since we had that Titanic primetime matchup, thanks for the Big Ten Network.
It was crazy,
for putting that game on at 7:30. CJ Stroud did not play because of an injury. I feel better about the two backups, having to see them, Kyle McCord and Jack Miller. McCord was actually good enough after a really rough start to be Big Ten Freshman of the Week. The running game looks so much better. And again, some of that's the opponent, certainly. The defense, Ohio State gave up the first score to Akron. And I know there's one of those things that score goes out and everyone's like, oh my God, Ohio State's down to Akron, 7-0 early in the game.
Right.
But I mean, the difference in the talent levels that becomes obvious very quickly. So that was Akron's only score, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm going to say that was it. Like their first play of the game, they scored, and I think there was a moment where people were like, "Oh my gosh, is this going to be like the biggest upset we see in the weekend?" And then Ohio State, I think, came back and scored their next touchdown in like 30 seconds. I was like, okay, no, they're good. Then still Ohio State versus Akron. It's still exactly what we think it's going to be. we're not letting Akron have any momentum. Let's bring this back. And then they just shut them down the rest of the game.
Yeah. No, and that's what you look for. The value of that game. You can debate this, but I mean, for the team, the value is you get a lot of guys in the game to get real game experience. That Kyle McCord and Jack Miller got to basically split the game or like 2/3 to 1/3. So your backup quarterbacks have game experience. You can get all of your backups basically time in the game, it's not just practice stuff, but that's a good thing. I think there's also just a value in confidence, which is maybe something that Ohio State has sort of lacked, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. So that's good stuff. Next weekend, Ohio State's at Rutgers. Greg Schiano is doing his Schiano thing. Rutgers is playing better, so that's going to be a good step up in competition level, and we will see how that goes. Early, I think in the morning on Saturday, I started getting text messages from Gabby that looked like there's a freaking Christmas party in Chicago.
Oh my gosh!
Because it's red people and green people all and like everywhere.
Yeah.
Tell me what, just, when you were down there meeting a friend kind of in the area of Soldier Field, although you did not go to the
didn't go to the game.
Gabrielle.
I know.
but tell me what the atmosphere was like when you got kind of down in the area and started seeing all the people.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of the entire city, which was crazy because I'm at Lincoln Park, which is 3 miles from Soldier Field, and even going to the train station. I was meeting a friend in the Soldier Field area for breakfast. So that's why I wanted to be in the area and kind of experience what that was like, but I didn't have tickets to go to the game. My own fault. I should have bought tickets and I just wasn't thinking. So
you can just walk up to the stadium and buy tickets. You can do that.
I don't need a lecture. I should have been at that game. It would have been an awesome game to be at. But I was meeting her for breakfast, and even like the train station out by me was still like huge groups of Wisconsin fans, huge groups of Notre Dame fans, like a lot of like student age people. I'm guessing they came in from campus in the city Friday night, stayed with people like me who are a year out of college or whatever, and then went and partied for the game on Saturday. But and as the train got closer and closer to Soldier Field, more and more people kept getting on, and I was kind of doing one of those checks because I was like, I had my headphones in, and I had my Notre Dame shirt on, and I was looking around. I was like, what do we got numbers wise? Like, is there more Wisconsin? Is there more Notre Dame? Like who showed up in more gear? Finally get off at the train station, and it, like I sent you a picture. It was literally a sea of green and red and navy blue, like all the way up the staircase, ascending, like hundreds and probably thousands of people at that point getting off the train. And this, mind you, was at like 8:45 in the morning. So the game is still, 2.5 hours away, and it's already crazy like this.
I didn't think about that. That game started at 11 o'clock local
time.
The
game was in 11, which is just crazy to me. Like Ohio State played Akron at 7:30, and you had Notre Dame and Wisconsin at 11 a.m.
That's such a miserable starting time.
It was horrible. It was like, that was the only time I could meet my friend. I was like, I guess we can do breakfast because the game's at 11.
Right.
Like, so much for sleeping in on a Saturday.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
What did you actually think of the game? I mean, I'm as I watch, if you didn't see it, you're thinking it's a blowout.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And that's,
but that was
not
tight game for 3 quarters.
It was honestly a super stressful. So my roommate and I watched it together. We drank a couple beers, ordered some had a frozen pizza, like just kind of chilled out. It was a perfect kind of way to watch the game. But we were both kind of saying that after the game. We were like, the score is ridiculous based on what we just witnessed, because it was a very even matched game for the whole first, I'd say even 3.5 quarters, really up until about the last 5 minutes when we got the 2 interceptions and ran them back for touchdowns. Like at that point, I think defense ended up scoring more points than offense. Like our defense might've been a better offense last week, which is interesting. but yeah, and it was, I think they were expecting it to be a super low scoring game. And so I think the first half or whatever, we maybe had like 10 points on the board.
It really was a low scoring game.
I hate low scoring games because I like when people are scoring touchdowns. I like when they're kicking the field goal. Like, I like points on the board. I think it's a more exciting game.
AJ's gonna love to hear this from you.
The game is low scoring. We look like we came to play kind of, but Wisconsin also looked they came to play. And so it was one of those things where I was like, this game is a little bit boring because no one's scoring, and B, it's also a little frustrating because
it would be frustrating if you're a fan.
We're like tied, and it's close, and you look in the stadium, and I don't know, maybe it was just the angles they were showing on TV, but anytime I looked, I was like, man, it is all red in that stadium. Like, Wisconsin has us outnumbered like 2-1 right now in the stadium. Like, we have it looks like barely any Notre Dame people there. The red just was overpowering.
Wisconsin is a gigantic public school, and Notre Dame has a student body of 75 people. So you can I know that doesn't really affect the fan base. No. Speaking as someone who is an Ohio State fan who did not attend Ohio State. What do you think about Notre Dame's season so far, leading up to a game that we're obviously going to talk about later on? Are you happy with it? Are you, what do you, I don't have a sense of what a Notre Dame fan would think.
I feel like I've only been a Notre Dame fan since going to school there. So I don't want to speak for all Notre Dame fans, but as like a recent graduate and a student, and like watching games with friends now and other alumni, I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like every week we've been like, well, a win's a win, but there hasn't been one of those
which is true
where which is true, but I feel like it's such a feeling of like contentment, almost being like, well, we won this week. We should have kicked some butt because we're playing these like unranked, ridiculous teams, and we're not kicking butt. We're like, we're having to fight for our lives until the fourth quarter of a game, and our quarterback is getting sacked and tackled a ridiculous amount because I think maybe the line is still trying to figure itself out because we lost. So many guys graduated last year, and defensively we look really great sometimes, and then sometimes I'm like, all right, where were you? So I feel like this season has just been inconsistent. And Wisconsin was really probably our first big test, and I was honestly really worried about that game. I was like, we're not in our home area. They're traveling, and it's a tough team. And so how do we come to play? And I think the score, again, like you were saying, doesn't totally reflect how we came to play, because it was really in the last couple minutes, it all came together. And so I feel like that's great. We kicked butt because we got kind of a lucky push through at the end, or the defense showed up the last 4 minutes. But, in the same way that in the Toledo game, I feel like we really looked like we were going to lose that game. Like, I really thought we were going to lose against Toledo. And then the last minute and a half, we stepped up and we played like a real team, and we had a minute drive down the field for a touchdown. And it's like,
well, there's that Notre Dame thing too that happens, and I don't know what kind of shenanigans the nuns do while the game's going on, but that stuff sort of happens.
It does. And it's like, I don't want to have to rely on those things every single game. And I feel like up until this point, we have been. And so you can't, and you can't count on them. The nuns, I say it like we're actually counting on the nuns. No, but you can't count on these kind of like lucky plays. I hate to say luck because there's some skill involved, but like these like really good, fortunate plays the last couple of minutes of the game. I don't like to be sitting there with 3 minutes left in the game wondering if I'm going to win or lose. I want to know. And so I'm definitely feeling a little bit frustrated as a fan. I'm also like a little nervous, but I will say, like, to kind of like bookend the Wisconsin game and kind of wrap up on my thoughts on that. It was the best feeling in the world beating Wisconsin. And then I went for a lake walk later that evening. And passing all of the Wisconsin fans that were like traveling back from Soldier Field, riding on their little bikes or like walking and just looking like absolutely devastated. I had on my Notre Dame shirt, and I didn't have to say anything. I could just give them a little smirk that was like,
oh, Jesus.
You know what you're wearing. I know what I'm wearing. And one of us won today and one of us didn't.
Gabby looks like she's nice. Gabby has a pretty good bit of troll in her, and here's a story to illustrate. Last weekend, the Browns played the Bears in Cleveland.
Yep.
Gabby went to a Steelers bar.
I was invited to a Steelers bar. Let me back up.
To watch the Browns game. So she got to watch the Browns win in a Steelers bar while the Steelers were getting destroyed by the Bengals. And the Browns were thumping the Bears. Yep. And I just thought that is such a troll move, and I absolutely loved it.
Okay, so backstory, I was invited by some Pittsburgh friends, so like that's why I didn't just show up and cause violence. Violence just happened. And then there was one other Browns fan there. Nice. And so anytime something good would happen, we would fist bump each other. So there was that too. Okay. It was like I wasn't the only one who had gotten like pulled to a Steelers bar and was like, screw it, I'm wearing my Browns gear anyway. I don't care. But yeah, no, it was a pretty satisfying feeling kicking some butt in Steelers territory.
I would think. Gabby, and I did not note this before, but Gabby is from Northeast Ohio, so she does pay attention to Ohio State, which is why I decided to tolerate her when she was my intern.
Ohio State and the Browns. Yes, those are my my teams. I mean, now I'm faithful to Notre Dame, but those are my like childhood.
Rah, be true to your school. Got to do it. As far as the Wisconsin game, I don't think you don't see this if you just saw the score, but Wisconsin is not as bad as the final score indicated.
No.
Graham Mertz has to take better care of the football. Do you remember the quote from Bull Durham? $1 million arm and a 5-set head. That may be a little extreme, but he's got to learn to make better decisions. He's got to take care of the ball. And the late picks obviously were that was the thing that lost the game for Wisconsin. Both of their losses came to really good opponents. Penn State at home, Notre Dame in ostensibly, you could argue that Chicago is pretty solidly Notre Dame territory. Our theme for this week is we're finding out. They host Michigan on Saturday, and here's my bonus pick. My bonus pick, because Michigan has looked great A at home and B against pretty much no one. I think Wisconsin will rebound and beat Michigan at in Camp Randall on Saturday. I can guarantee you AJ won't be watching Wisconsin and Michigan on Saturday. Here he is to tell us what he will be watching on this week's Group of 5 / Pac-12 After Dark Report. AJ, go.
Hey everybody, it is your pal AJ, giving you this week in college football. I am not going to talk about any of the very big name, small number games. I will leave that to Crappy and our special guest to discuss. I'm just going to start with Thursday, September 30th. Do not perceive football that night. It will be bad. We're going to move forward to Friday. We got Houston at Tulsa. Tulsa obviously gave Crappy's beloved Buckeyes a bit of a struggle. Houston's looked okay this year. This is a nice little appetizer game. Could get fun. Over under on that is 56. Could get pointsy. Don't worry about what's happening on FS1. And finally at 9 p.m. on CBS-SN, the Network of Champions, we have BYU at Utah State. Boise made Utah State look real silly, just completely useless. BYU's favored by 9. Over under on this is 62.5. This could be a very fun game, and just good job Utah State for not playing a 10 a.m. local kick against Boise. You're playing 9 p.m. against BYU. Kalani Sitake is going to come for you. Let's kind of take a quick spin through Saturday. We've got some good games. We've got some very bad games. I'm going to jump in with Louisville at Wake Forest. Mostly because this is like a low-key great ACC game. Clemson is butt. Florida State is not good at all. Miami is shaky as heck. And look at you, undefeated Wake Forest. Look at you, 3-1 Louisville. This is for the top of one of the ACC divisions, I'm sure. I don't remember who's in either of the ACC divisions, and neither should you. But Louisville at Wake Forest. Let me put some respect on that. Number 24, Wake Forest. This could be good. This is in Winston-Salem. So watch some decent ACC football. I'm just going to point out USC at Colorado at 2 p.m. Eastern. That is a noon local kick. USC got absolutely bodied by Oregon State. Like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even a little bit. Told you that game would get fun. Just saying is all I'm saying. Crappy and our special guest will talk about Cincinnati and Notre Dame. My fandom heroes with Cincinnati because we want the little boys to beat the big boys. And get wrecked, Notre Dame. Y'all are cops. Let's scroll down at 3:30 p.m. Oregon at Stanford. Stanford, what are you? What are we doing here? Stanford has looked very good at times, like when they got Clay Helton fired and absolutely handled business against Vandy, and then looked pretty good against UCLA. UCLA is a pretty good football team as well, and so UCLA won by a little bit. Oregon looked a little shaky against Arizona until late. I watched that whole game. Oregon fans got real up for a game against Arizona. Don't understand why you needed all that energy, but sure. Oregon looked real shaky, though. Stanford's better than expected. This could get close, could get fun, even though there should be a pure points bonanza happening at Ole Miss, Alabama. Over under on Ole Miss, Alabama is 79.5. They just play better defense, don't they? We're going to keep things moving down the line here. Gets a little dire in the middle. 3:30, though. FS1, we got Nevada at Boise State. This is a possible Mountain West Championship preview. Boise is not Boise, right? Normal Boise State, where they're like, we're going to walk in, we're going to destroy you. We are better than everybody to the point where they actually do get more money from the TV deal than everybody else in the Mountain West. They are not normal Boise. Meanwhile, Nevada has had a really, really great offense. They are now 2-1. They lost last week. But Nevada is a very, very good football team and could really put it on Boise if they would like to. Let's keep going down the line here. Do not perceive Washington State at Cal. Don't do it. Don't do it. I love you too much for you to do that. Don't do that. Let's keep moving on down the line at 7:30 p.m. on ESPNU. You may be considering watching Indiana at Penn State. You might be considering watching Boston College at Clemson. No. Let's get gross. UConn at Vandy. Now, why am I talking about UConn at Vandy? Because both of these teams are completely garbage. Garbage. UConn almost got Wyoming. They failed a 2-point conversion at the very, very, very end of the game and lost 24-22. UConn's real bad, and that program is completely and utterly broken. Vandy has a lot to figure out, but they are still the more talented team here. This is a gross game. Tickets for this game, if you go on StubHub, are $1. For some reason, parking is $40. So in case you're wondering about inflation, that's where it's happening. So that's gross. At the same time, if you don't want to get that gross, if you want to just get moderate gross, 7:30 p.m. on Big Ten Network, Northwestern at Nebraska. Now, again, why am I talking about this? It's because I enjoy schadenfreude. I enjoy sicko football. And occasionally, you have to watch Northwestern versus Nebraska to truly understand the meaning of life. You need to look someone in the eye and say, I know real pain. And that's Northwestern at Nebraska. Somehow Nebraska's favored by 11. They will lose this game. And finally, we got to go to the late slate. Late slate's kind of rough. We do have one game, though, or two games in the late slate. 3 games. We'll call it 3 games in the late slate. I'm going to start with 9 p.m. We have Auburn at LSU at 9 p.m. We have a 9 p.m. Death Valley kick. Ooh, we got SEC after dark. Both of these teams are butt. I mean, you should watch it. This should be hilarious to watch because the SEC after dark and this game could get weird. And hopefully, I would just love LSU to jump up and get Auburn for no reason. But that game should be very, very stupid. That's on ESPN. On FS1, 10:30 p.m., Arizona State at UCLA. That is effectively the game for the Pac-12 South. It is Arizona State and UCLA. No one else in the Pac-12 South is coming. Arizona is crap. Colorado is crap. I think Utah is also in the Pac-12 South for some reason, even though they're north of Stanford and Berkeley. Anyways, Utah is also not terribly great. So this is effectively your Pac-12 South championship game. This should be a very good game. You have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You have Jalen Daniels. You have 2 very, very, very good quarterbacks. Absolutely watch this game. Stay up late. Drink your coffee if you have to. And finally, to tuck you into bed, Fresno State at Hawaii. Fresno, you don't need to – it doesn't always have to come down to the end of the game. You can just win a game like regular. You should have beat the brakes off of UNLV last week, and then you didn't. Fresno State 4-1, looking fantastic. Jake Haener, again, the late night god himself. Going to Hawaii. Hawaii, you're fine. This is at Clarence T.C. Ching Athletic Complex. This is literally their like soccer field / practice field that they had to convert into an FBS football stadium on the quick because Aloha Stadium got condemned. Condemned is the word to use there. So Hawaii and Aloha Stadium are supposed to get a new stadium by 2023, which will be great. Just do yourself a favor and go look at fbschedules.com, go find Hawaii, and then go to their 2025 schedule. I know that sounds like we're looking way forward in advance, but I just need you to see the opening 3 games of Hawaii's schedule and start planning accordingly. Hi, this has been your buddy AJ. I'm going to send it back to Crappy and our special guest to talk about small number, big name team games. Please, again, watch the whole hog, watch the scoreboard, look for the stupid. This is a wonderful, beautiful sport. We'll see you all weekend long. Bye.
Thank you, AJ. Great stuff as always. And really, I think look for the stupid is probably the best possible tagline the Carla and Crappy show could ever have. We're going to work on t-shirts or something for that one. While we're on the subject of smaller schools, let's take a second for this week's Big Red Bears report. In the Yale Bowl last Saturday, Cornell put on a comeback bid that fell short, dropping the Big Red to 0-2 on the season and 0-1 in the Ivy League. Of course, we're doing this because my nephew plays football there. He's still active on special teams. He did well defensively. The Big Red really played well. Held Yale to 88 yards rushing, and recorded just 14 tackles for loss, which is insane. Absent the comeback in the fourth quarter, the offense really needs to work through some consistency problems. I'm hoping whatever it is that they worked on in the fourth quarter last week will carry over to this week and further down the line. This week, Cornell is at Bucknell in the greater Harrisburg metropolitan area. Bucknell is 0-3, but the Patriot League actually they played football last spring, and Bucknell made the conference title game. So the Battle of the Nells, which is something that Cornell press notes actually mentioned the battle. This is the Battle of the Nells. Do you have a thought about the Battle of the Nells this weekend, or Ivy League football in general?
I can't say I've thought about the Battle of the Nells much. I love the name. I think the name.
I had not heard that until I was reading the game notes for this weekend. It's like, oh, Bucknell, Cornell, right? Battle.
That's half the fun is when they have the super clever
Battle of
names and signs and different things like that. So I like Battle of the Nells. I feel like Cornell kids and Ivy kids in general pretty clever. So I'm sure there'll be some good content.
If we could get game day there, that would be kind of awesome. I don't think game day's showing up. I don't know exactly where they're going, but I don't think they're showing up in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania this week. That's just.
I think they're in Arkansas.
That would probably
Arkansas. Georgia game. I don't know, where is that game at?
That would be my guess. That's at Georgia. That's at Georgia.
Okay. I think they announced that one. Yeah.
Let's talk about that game right now. How's that? This week's feature games start at noon on Saturday. This is not Big Nude. Big Nude is the aforementioned Michigan and Wisconsin. But this game is on ESPN at noon on Saturday. Number 8 Arkansas at number 2 Georgia. The Bulldogs are favored by 18.5 points, which feels really excessive to me. but Gabby, we're gonna let you go first. What do you think about this game?
Okay, so like I follow college football, but I like definitely follow Notre Dame more than other teams. So I can't say I've been following these teams like super closely. But looking back at their past performances, I mean, you have Georgia, who's just been an absolute powerhouse. I mean, they're putting up what I would call like Bama scores, like 60 to nothing or something ridiculous like that last week. But then you have Arkansas, and so my roommate's from Arkansas, so I'm already a little biased because, we want a happy space. We want an excited college football weekend. We want all of our teams to win. And so for me, I feel like, am I picking? Do I need to like tell you who I think is going to win?
If you have a strong feeling one way or the other, yeah, you should let me know.
So I am going to make all of my picks today based 100% on like heart and not actual
totally
like content of the game.
Totally fine.
So it has to be Arkansas because, one, for my roommate's sake, and two, I love a good Cinderella story, and I also love this idea of different teams making the playoffs and different teams. I feel like, and this is a little bit of a dog on Notre Dame too, like it's been the same 4 or 5 teams for the last 4 or 5 years. And so I would love to see Arkansas or someone else kind of jump in there and shake up. I mean, even Georgia, they're shaking it up a little bit too. They haven't been up in that top 4. So I think either of these teams winning and continuing to progress would be a fun shakeup for, the college playoff. But if it could be Arkansas, just because of a Cinderella kind of story, would be great.
Carla and I, you hit on the boredom, and and I say this. I've mentioned this before. I say this as an Ohio State fan, one of the teams that has benefited from how the playoff system is set up. Right. It's boring.
Yeah,
it's boring. And you have this pool of 5 or 6 teams, and that's who's in the playoff every year. And so I am totally with you on that point. The Arkansas, man, they are like the story of college football season so far. And they are the hottest team in the country. They have the best resume, maybe except for Penn State's. They are a defensive machine. There's this weird system. It's a 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 DBs, and that's pretty much what they play all the time. And this is not something that this is not a typical defense in the SEC, and it causes problems. So we this is stuff that we've seen before, and I wonder. I have not been super impressed with Georgia's quarterbacks in the last few years. And JT Daniels, I mean, he got benched 2 weekends ago. So I'm not sure he's going to look at this defense and try to figure out how to throw the ball against not a lot of pressure, but 6 defensive backs. He's going to have his hands full trying to figure out how to work against that scheme. Georgia has a pretty good defense too. They give up 181 yards and only 5 points per game. That's ridiculous. Arkansas's quarterback KJ Jefferson is a redshirt sophomore, and he was waiting his turn behind Felipe Franks, so this is his first shot at the Bulldogs. I wish this game was in Fayetteville. I wish this game was at Arkansas, because then I would feel really good about the chances of Who Pig Suey. But in they call them the shrubberies, I think, in Athens. Okay. That's not really what they call them. But in Athens, man, this is not what I want. I want Arkansas to win this game. But I got to pick Georgia in a tight game, as in that line is really dumb tight. Yeah. But a low scoring game.
I feel like if they both have the strong defense, going to be a low scoring game, but yet I hope somehow still an exciting game. If you're going to have a low scoring game, you got to at least make it exciting.
Low scoring can still be exciting. Low scoring can still be exciting. Trust me on this. At 3:30 on Saturday, we're skipping ahead chronologically. You will see why. At 3:30 on Saturday, this one is going to be nuts. If you want just like dumb, let's score a lot, exciting, consequential football, AJ, you will want to watch number 12 Ole Miss at number 1 Alabama. Alabama is favored by 14 points. Here's your bonus watchability stat. The over-under number for this game is 78 points. They're going to score a lot.
That's insane.
They're going to score a lot here. Gabby, what do you think about this one?
I did not know the over-under was that high. Holy mackerel. I'm always team beat Bama. Like I am always team let Bama lose.
Amen.
So Ole Miss 100%. I have not really, I think I'm very like anti-Bama, don't like to watch them because they make me angry because one should be that good all the time.
It's like watching the Yankees. It's just like, oh God, it's the evil empire. And they just keep doing it over and over and over. And it's like, oh, make it stop.
Yes. So Ole Miss solely because I would like to see somebody kick some Bama butt. And I wish it could be Notre Dame or Ohio State or one of the teams that I like, but I don't care who it is. I feel like every week I'm just like, whoever they're playing, I'm like them. I want them to beat Bama. Just beat them. Just beat them at their own game, you know?
Okay. I'm in favor of this. The snap judgment that everybody in college football made after Alabama escaped from Florida. Maybe Alabama's defense is what it's been for the last few years. And we go back to our theme, right? With the Fightin Kiffins coming to town, we're going to find out. Ole Miss is averaging 52 points and 635 yards a game. If there was a Heisman Trophy to be awarded for the month of September, it would probably go to Ole Miss quarterback Matt Corral. He's completing 70% of his passes, 9 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, pretty much perfect for the month of September. The aforementioned evil empire. You can't make snap judgments, even regardless of what the Florida game looked like. But this year feels different for them. Bryce Young clearly is good. He's not a game manager, and statistically, he's just a step behind Matt Corral in terms of production. But when do you get to say that about an Alabama quarterback? Right? It's been years.
Right.
Brian Robinson, their leading rusher, they don't have a running game. The guy's got 200 yards on the season so far, and that's some of that he's been dealing with rib injury, although he's supposed to be 100% this weekend. That's not Najee Harris numbers. This is still a very, very good Alabama team,
right? But
it is not one so far. It is not one of Nick Saban's best teams,
which I think is like just the larger theme, like you were saying at the beginning, is like all of these teams, like this is a good Ohio State team, but it's not as good as they've been. It's a good Alabama team, but it's not as good. Like there's still great teams, but there's something that feels very like off about this season where you're like, who are the really good teams? Like I still don't know.
And we're going to find out a lot this weekend. in this game, I will probably regret this, although the consequences of incorrect picks, as we've seen over the years on the Carla and Crappy show, aren't exactly steep. But I'm picking Ole Miss to win this game in Tuscaloosa. And it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be pointsy. Gabby, I know you're going to have a game to watch that's going to kind of bump up against this one. But if you want exciting,
I know.
This would be a fun one to keep an eye on.
I know it's driving me nuts because the Notre Dame game is like smack in the middle of these two huge, like it's such a good, I was talking to my roommate about this. It's like, it's such a good college football Saturday.
Yep.
And I'm going to be like knee deep in a tailgate, and then I'm going to be at the game, and I'm not going to be able to watch these other ones in the way that I would like love to kind of sit and watch like good football.
Yes. There's something to be said for the in-person experience that's tough to top. And that leads us to this one. To back up in terms of our timeline, 2:30 p.m. Saturday, because that's when NBC says Notre Dame has to play football.
Yep.
Number 7.
Don't get me started on early afternoon tailgating. No.
Number 7 Cincinnati at number 9 Notre Dame. The Bearcats are favored by 2.5. Gabby, as she just mentioned, Gabby is seeing this game in person for the first time since she has graduated. I'm Gabby. I'm going to go first. I'm going to give you the last word on this game.
Oh boy.
This is and I mentioned this before. This is one of those dumb games at home that Notre Dame doesn't lose. It doesn't matter teams' resumes. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if there are Heisman candidates on the other sideline. Something God and touchdown Jesus and the nuns. I don't know what it is. In South Bend, Notre Dame almost always wins these games.
Knock on wood somewhere, please.
Almost.
Yeah.
The thing here is that, and this is a flaw in how the structure of college football. Cincinnati is underranked at number 7. They are so good, and if you watched the Notre Dame-Wisconsin game last weekend, and you understand that was a much tighter game than the final score would suggest. Maybe Notre Dame is a bit overrated in the top 10. Cincinnati's quarterback Desmond Ridder doesn't have like prolific numbers. He's not a Heisman Trophy candidate, but he's like a 3-year starter. He can run. He is accurate. He's so much more than a game manager, and he's better head and shoulders than whoever we've seen under center for the Irish so far this year. Although I understand Jack Cohn is going to be starting. He's at least at the top of the depth chart early in the week. We're taping on Tuesday. This will Gabby. This is going to be slugfest. May not be a whole lot of scoring. I'm sorry to say this for the game that you're going to at home. But the better team is going to come away with the win this time. And it sounds weird to say this, but in 2021, the better team is Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Gabby, tell me why I'm wrong.
I have so many thoughts on this game. And so many thoughts about like what it means and like selfishly what it means in my life and my like Notre Dame football time and everying.
But and all that stuff counts though. I mean, that's all totally legit stuff to think about when you're trying to figure this one out.
For starters, I want to say your comment about our Notre Dame being overrated. I get it all the time from my dad. Anytime Notre Dame starts to win or lose, he'll just do the overrated and he'll start chanting.
Oh man.
So when I started that a couple weeks ago when Ohio State was losing to Oregon, he did not appreciate it nearly as much. And I was like, it's not fun when your team's losing, is it?
I would not have either, actually.
No, he did not appreciate it, but I was like, this is what you get. Sorry.
And that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, no, overrated. We'll see. I mean, they say that about Notre Dame every season, and some seasons they're right. Other seasons, I feel like we actually have a put together team. I always say I'm so blessed because I got 4 really good years of college football. Notre Dame was consistently going undefeated or having 1 or 2 lost seasons. They were making bowl games. They were making the playoffs. It was just a really good time to be a Notre Dame student. And this
I would point out that Gabrielle was one of the heathens who rushed to the field. It's the unmasked.
I was masked, and I was COVID free as of that morning.
Who rushed the field when Notre Dame beat Clemson last fall, which I sent Gabby a text after the game, was like, please tell me you rushed the field. Do you remember what you said?
I'm like, hell
direct
yeah,
quote,
I did.
direct quote, you bet your ass we did.
I was like, how could I not? Like, you tell me anybody a senior in college, you just beat Clemson in double overtime and your last game of your senior season.
Gotta do it.
I'm a heathen. I'll take it. I will happily take the title.
Okay, so Saturday
is going to be a day. Only because all my friends and family are coming to the game too. So it's going to be such a fun tailgate sort of thing. But in the back of my brain, I keep thinking we could lose this game. We could have this really awesome, incredible morning. And then at about 5:30, 6 p.m., things could go really, really south. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a little worried. I'm a healthy amount of worried. I believe in the team. I think, like you said, we tend to pull it together when we need to, which is great. I'm a little worried about the whole almost 3 quarterback system that we have going at this point. We got Cone, and then they put in Pine last week, but 2 or 3 weeks ago against Toledo, it was Buckner. And so if Cone gets injured again, or if Cone's just not working with the Cincinnati defense, who do they put in, and how do they jive with the team? And so I'm a little bit worried about going into a game like this without really, I feel having a consistent quarterback. Cone's our consistent quarterback, but I don't feel like he's been all that consistent the last 4 games and has been kind of easily subbed out. And they're still trying to figure out, are we doing the running game? Are we doing the passing game?
He left Wisconsin because he's a game manager. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. And they had a guy in Graham Mertz who's better.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And I said in our show last week, I think Notre Dame, from the quarterback position, Notre Dame needs more than that. Especially in the year when they've had to replace so many people on the offensive line. The running game suffers, so you need to have really good quarterback play to make up for that. And I'm not sure Jack Cohn's the guy.
No, and I just feel like he hasn't been getting a lot of time open in the pocket and had time to really make these plays. So I don't know how much of it is him versus the line not being able to really support him and give him the time that he needs. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like we're 4 weeks in, we should have that figured out. And offensively, we don't totally have it figured out. I think our defense has looked strong. I think especially last week against Wisconsin, our defense showed up. And like I said, our defense practically outscored our offense. If I don't know the exact numbers on offense, but it was close. If they didn't outscore, I'm pretty sure they did. And so we can't rely on that against Cincinnati, because Cincinnati is just not going to make those kind of mistakes. Right. I hope they do, but we can't count on that in the way that I feel like we have in the last couple games. And so I'm a little worried. Am I still absolutely saying my Irish are going to come out on top? Yes, my Irish are going to pull through. We're going to send up some prayers to touch down Jesus and to Mary and to the nuns, I guess you think the nuns have some large role. I don't.
I've always liked nuns. I get along really well with nuns in the experiences that limited experiences that I've had. With all due respect.
And I do think, so the thing that I've been thinking about, and this is the selfish part of me, I have not seen Notre Dame lose a game in Notre Dame Stadium since my freshman year when they lost by 1 to Georgia. And that was devastating. So we haven't lost, we're at 24, 25, something like that, mid-20s consecutive home game wins.
Okay.
And so this is and I really thought that might come to an end last year when we played Clemson. And I think my friends and I were all going into that game, kind of the Clemson game, expecting to lose.
Right.
And so we were kind of at peace with it. Mm-hmm. And then we won, and it was oh man, we're still going. The streak is still going. We got to keep this up. And so now it's the first game I'm going back to as an alumni. And I'm if we don't pull it together and win this game, I'm going to be so mad. And I think, there's 4 years of Notre Dame students, because me and then every student who's younger than me who has never seen them lose in their home stadium.
Right.
They've never seen anybody who's younger than me at Notre Dame, so like the current seniors, juniors,
Mhm.
whatever, they've never seen a losing home football game. And so this could be, I don't even want to think about campus on Saturday night and Saturday evening if this team loses. And so that's why I have to pick Notre Dame, because I'm like, the campus simply cannot take a Notre Dame loss on the campus.
That's your pick, Notre Dame.
They just have, Notre Dame just has to win forever because nobody wants to ever lose on campus again. Like, we cannot ever have a home game loss because the streak is just too high at this point, you know?
Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever Google service is called these days, Stitchers, TuneIn, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or on the show's Facebook page. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. And be sure to come back next week to see exactly how wrong Gabrielle won't be here. So come back next week to see exactly how wrong I was. Gabby, you have any final thoughts for this week?
I gotta say go Irish. It has to be. It's got to be my little MD. I have to say go Irish, and send your prayers or your good vibes or your whatever out to me and all my friends and family who are watching the game this weekend. And if we lose, I don't know, Venmo me for beer, because I'm gonna need it. Or maybe something stronger at that point. We'll see.
Yeah. I have a couple things. One is a question for you. I warned you that this might be coming. Because of COVID, Gabby and her friends and her family missed out on tailgating during her senior year, which is a travesty.
Don't even get going.
Well, and I missed a year tailgating with my folks in Columbus, and the friends that we have who show up every week when we do that. So my question for you, and I'm preparing for our trip to South Bend in 2024 when Ohio State plays Notre Dame. Because I am coming to that game.
2023.
23. Wait.
Yeah, 22. No, 22.
You're
right?
correct.
LSU,
You're
23.
correct.
Yeah, I'm
22 is in Columbus.
You only got 2 years to prep. Come on now, don't.
What? Tell me. What is the one thing I should know about Notre Dame tailgating before we come out for that game? What makes tailgating at Notre Dame special?
I feel like it's a much smaller university than a lot of the other big schools. So I haven't tailgated at like other huge schools. So I'll speak just on my experience. I can't necessarily say what's different, but I think what makes it special, not necessarily different from others, is just that because it's a smaller community, this ability to just, you park in the lot and then you're 10 minutes from the dome and from the basilica and from Touchdown Jesus. And so you have this ability to like be able to tailgate and be in the lot and party, but also take time to see the campus as well and still get back and tailgate more. It's like you don't have to pick one or the other. You get to just do it all. And I think, I don't know, in the same way that all tailgates are, there's just an awesome sense of camaraderie. You also get to tailgate like a 2-minute walk from the stadium, which is great. If you get a pass in stadium or Joyce lot, you're literally right by the stadium or the basketball arena, and you have a 2-minute walk in. So it means you get to tailgate longer.
Okay. Helpful.
Yeah.
That's helpful. That's helpful.
But
outsiders, there are lots of jokes to be made about Touchdown Jesus and all of that stuff. But Notre Dame's tradition, really, it's I don't want to say unmatched, because there are schools with that have the same tradition. Ohio State would be one of them, but that's why I want to go. I want to see all that stuff. I want to see a game at Notre Dame Stadium. I need a picture with me standing under Touchdown Jesus and all of that stuff.
Little arms.
Oh God. I want to see all that stuff. And I'm really looking forward to that opportunity when you meet me and Kelly and whoever else we can wrap up into this.
Oh, it's going to be a
South
big
Bend.
group. I have a few.
That's fine. That's fine. I have one more last thing. When I taped with New Bias last week, I had not yet heard anything about the arrival of Baby Fox. And I found out the very next morning that Baby Fox had arrived. This is a photograph of Ellie. Her full name is Eleanor May. She was born on September 21st. You guys also probably recognize Carla, who says she's learning more about sleep deprivation than she ever thought she would. Congratulations to Carla and David, and to Ellie. Ellie, we have this tiny little bit of advice, and this is the thing that an Ohio State fan, a Penn State fan, a Notre Dame fan can all agree on. There's something you should always remember, and that is that Michigan sucks.
I support it.
Am I correct? Am I correct here?
100% correct.
Sweet. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate. I've had a great time tonight. Gabby, cheers to you. Thank you for joining us. It really has been. It was fun. The summer you worked at the Post-Gazette, a lot of back and forth about college football, and that's why I knew you would do really well in this setting. And I hope you guys have a great time on Saturday. I know, obviously who I picked, but
it's okay.
I'll
forgive you. I'll forgive you for it.
I appreciate that. So Gabby, cheers to you.
Yes.
Boys and girls, cheers to you guys. I hope you enjoy the games this weekend, and I hope you come back next week. Have a great one, everybody.